Morning everyone, it is a tense and exhilarating day on the Brexit front, so let's do some Lydia news. So what is being called Theresa May's revised Brexit deal is really three documents which complement the existing Withdrawal Agreement. The Withdrawal Agreement covers the next 2 years of transition for the UK leaving the EU, and by the end of that withdrawal period we should hopefully have another agreement in place with the European Union which sets out our future relationship. So the main thing with these three documents is it provides written assurances on the intentions with the backstop. Now remember, the issue with the backstop is that if the UK and the EU fail to reach an agreement at the end of the withdrawal period as to the nature of their future relationship, then in order to prevent a hard border in Northern Ireland, the UK would remain part of a customs union with the EU, and Northern Ireland would remain part of the customs union with the EU. And the crucial part of this being, not only would we remain linked to the EU in a very, very structural way, but also that the Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK would have separate regulatory structures, and that is something that the DUP, the Democratic Unionist Party in Northern Ireland, cannot accept, because that would mean that the UK and Northern Ireland, or the rest of the UK and Northern Ireland, will be on different bases, and they just won't have that, because they have to be the same in every way, apart from the ways that the DUP think it should be different, if you follow. A further issue MPs have with the backstop is that should the backstop come into force, that the UK would have no way of getting out of it unless through a deal with the EU. That's what they mean when they say that the UK has no unilateral right to exit this arrangement. Basically, they feel that the EU intends to kind of keep us in its coils forever, and they'll use the backstop as a mechanism with which to do that. So these documents are to assure the UK that it has another route out of the backstop, and that's through international arbitration. One of the documents also assures that the EU and the UK are going to work together for a technological option for the Northern Irish border by the end of 2020. And that's a new thing, because until now the emphasis has been on seeking a political outcome to the Northern Irish border rather than technological. So that's kind of the nitty-gritty as to what Theresa May has brought back from Strasbourg. What will happen today is as many lawyers as can fit into the Palace of Westminster will pore over these documents and try and interpret them to see whether there's been a big enough change to convince MPs to vote with Theresa May in the Commons vote tonight. So the two main groups who have been absolutely against May's deal, and particularly against the backstop, are the European Research Group, that's Jacob Rees-Mogg and all his little friends, and the DUP, the Democratic Unionist Party. They are looking over this with their lawyers, and they will be looking to see whether these new documents give them enough assurances that they can climb down from their position and vote with the government. I've said this lots of times before, but it all comes down to the numbers tonight. So the last time that May's deal was up before the Commons, she lost by 230 votes. Tonight, to win, she needs 320 votes. It's just like the bookies, isn't it? She can probably rely on about 240 MPs. That's still quite a big margin for error. The DUP will be key, because if they can support this, then really the European Research Group doesn't really have a basis on which to object. So they're really crucial in this. How Labour and all of those other people in Parliament will vote, and there will be some rebels as well, that is all to play for tonight. I mean, it's just like the most terrible and bizarre roulette game in the world. Now, I've said before that the key to effective negotiation is to give your opponent a way in which they can climb down from their position without losing face. Has Theresa May done enough with these documents in order to win over those MPs who need a mechanism with which to climb down? That remains to be seen, and she has an awful lot of votes to win over. Now, the EU has been very clear that having done this little bit of wrangling, there will be no more assurances, there will be no more interpretations. It is over, it is done. Now we'll just have to wait and see what happens tonight. Because remember, it's not just about the backstop, it's about May's deal altogether and MPs being against that, and it's whether they can hold their noses and go with it enough because they fear a no deal as the other outcome. Now, here's some prediction. One prediction I've had from people who know what they're talking about is that May will lose tonight, but only by a marginal amount. in which case probably Parliament will look to seek an extension to Article 50. The EU is pretty grumpy about that. It doesn't want to extend Article 50 and just end up in this exact same position in 3 months' time with even fewer options. And so it might go to the European Council on the 20th and 21st of March, and then May come back and go, look, they're not going to give us any more. They're not going to extend the withdrawal agreement. Let's just have another vote on this. Are you really sure you don't want no deal? And then it will pass. That is the prediction for now. But like all things in this, it's totally fluid.